Hello, everyone. It's me, Krista Cloutier from The Working Artist. Thank you so much for joining our call today, or if you're listening to the recording later, thank you for joining us. Before we start, I wanted to speak for a few minutes about some stuff that's been on my mind, and then I'm going to open it up to your questions and your comments. First of all, if you are a member of my new Facebook group, The Working Artist Circle, thank you. I have been really blown away by the caliber of work that everyone is sharing and the wonderful coming together of community that's happening there. And I'm super excited about this Facebook group and where we can take it. So I was going to ask if you have any ideas or suggestions about this Facebook group, don't hesitate to reach out to me because I'd really love to hear from you. Every member that's joined my Facebook group, The Working Artist Circle, has had to answer the same question for me before they can join. What's your greatest challenge as an artist? I've been fascinated by the responses, but not at all surprised, because during the course of my career working with artists, I've learned that the answers are pretty much always the same. The vast majority of artists are challenged by the monster whom I call not enough. Artists tell me, Krista, I don't have enough credentials. There's not enough ideas. I do not have enough money, or I do not have enough time. Do any of those challenges sound familiar to you? And if your answer is all of the above, I want you to give yourself a quick hug right now. Because listen, here's the thing. Life is always going to constrain us in one way or another, and all you can do is work with what you do have, because it's about the work. It's not about the limitations. So if you think the not enough monster is winning because you don't have enough credentials, you didn't go to art school, for example, stop it. Don't weigh yourself down by worrying about what you don't have. Credentials are vastly overrated by the people who don't have them. In fact, studies show that working artists, the artists who make their living from their art, don't always have art degrees. In fact, the last survey I saw said that, only 60% of professional artists went to art school. So it's not that important as a factor for success. Don't weigh yourself down with this false limitation. And I'll tell you the truth, in all the years that I sold contemporary art, no one has ever asked me about the artist's credentials. It's always been about the work. Now, if you're an artist who's feeling like there's not enough ideas, if you're feeling stuck creatively, this won't last forever, because ideas will always come when the ground is fertile. As a British creative once said to me, he said, it's not a top love. Ideas can't just be turned off and on. And it's true. So if you're feeling stuck or uninspired, I recommend that you nourish the muse. Look at other art. Read. Listen to music and dance. Walk in nature. Open yourself up to inspiration, because when you feed your muse, she feeds your imagination. Now, if you're one of the people who says, the not enough monster stops me financially, there's not enough money, does that sound like you? If so, I want you to put your hand in the air, and yes, I can see you. And yes, there's a lot of us who feel this way. But what if I told you that you don't ever have to worry about money? You would say I was either crazy or rich, right? But it's true. You don't have to worry about money, because worry is a choice, and it's not going to affect the outcome. However, it does affect your energy, and as an artist, it's crucial that you use your creative energy to focus on creating, not complaining. Create art and create solutions. When an artist tells me that they're being stopped by lack of money, I always advise to work with what you have. Focus on what you can do right now, with what is there right now, and trust that you will create what you need when you need it. Focus on this moment and what you can do with what you do have. Worry is a choice, and it's a bad choice. Spiritual philosophers say that in each moment we can choose either love or fear. And by focusing on the creative work instead of the limitations, we're focusing on love and not fear. You're creating solutions. And this energy will transform any situation. I've seen it change my own life, and I've watched other artists defeat the not enough monster too. Now, if you're someone who feels like the not enough monster is in control of your time, you do not have enough time, I want you to raise both hands and say amen, because it's something we all suffer from. Do you feel like there's not enough time to work as an artist? Because I'm thinking that's the whole point. It's about bringing more of yourself into your life all of the time, whether you're actually producing or not. This moment is the only moment that counts, because this moment is the only one you really have. So last week, I held my monthly coaching call with the working artist community, the people who've taken my course or are taking it now. And then I spoke about the importance of focus and energy as a way to overcome our challenges with time. Because I noticed something interesting when I looked back at my own life, at my younger self. I saw all those things that I accomplished without computers or cell phones or on demand. But I wondered, how could that be? I mean, I was going to school full time, I was working, I had a very active social life, and I never missed an episode of General Hospital. But somehow, I still got into the dark room and spent hours and hours printing my photographs. Where did I find all of that time? But I've come to realize it wasn't time. I had the same 24 hours then that I have now. It was focus. And focus is something that computers and cell phones and on-demand have really taken away from us. What I'm learning is that we can take focus back. And everyone has different techniques for this. Me, I'm doing some meditations now in the morning. I'm setting goals. I'm doing envisioning exercises, seeing myself accomplishing my goals gracefully. I started setting a timer to do those things that I don't want to do, so I do just a little bit every day. So I'm pushing myself through discomfort into the energy toward the vision with focus. I put my phone away, I turn off social media, and I focus on what needs to be done to get me where I want to go. And it's starting to work. I'm moving forward on some big projects, and the momentum is energizing me so that I have even more focus. And I'm starting to identify those things that stop me or slow me down, and I'm dealing with them by prioritizing. And I've also learned that it's not just electronics. What I eat and drink also has an effect on my focus. So what I'm saying is that when it comes to time, we are in charge of our energy because we are in charge of our focus. So I encourage you to take charge of your focus and watch your life change, because this is how you defeat the monster not enough when he tells you that there's just not enough time. You are enough. You have enough. You do enough. Stand in that energy and silence that monster who says you don't. And you know, we all yearn for success and we all define it differently. But sometimes I feel like we use our definitions to limit us so that success always feels out of reach. But what if you could see yourself as successful right now? You are enough. You have enough. You do enough. What if you defined success as having the courage to take leaps of faith? What if you defined success as the ability to dig deeper and really focus your energy? What if you defined success as being able to be in the moment, or even to accept change? In other words, what if you measured success by how you choose to live as opposed to outside validation for achievements? How successful are you now? How successful can you feel? When I started to look at my life and my art practice that way, The monster not enough immediately got silent. I am enough. I am successful, even if I haven't yet achieved all of my goals. So think about those places where you get stopped and choose creative solutions and not fear. And define success for yourself so that you can own the incredible artist who you are right now. Okay, thanks for letting me share that. I'm going to get to your questions in just a quick minute. I did want to make an announcement before we begin, and it's about when this COVID crisis started in the spring, when we were all young. Remember that? No one knew that it would continue the way it has. And since then, we've watched people we love get sick, and in some cases, we've lost them. We've watched businesses fail and people lose their jobs. It's been a terrifying time, and there still seems to be no clear answers. But I said it then, and I'm going to say it again. This too shall pass. This moment will not be forever. And it's important to use this moment to plan our next evolvement, both collectively and personally too. Who do you want to be next? Where do you want to be spending your energy? And when the crisis started, my heart broke when I saw all of the fear and the anguish, and to be honest, I had my share of it too. I mean, I cried a lot. But the only power I had was to try to be part of the solution and not add to the fear. So when the crisis began last spring, I slashed the price of the Working Artist Masterclass to make it more affordable, to help artists prepare for this next evolvement. And now I feel called to do it again. So for this next week, I'm discounting the Working Artist Masterclass from the current price of $444 to $177. And I have a payment plan too, if that helps. You'll receive the same 8-week program with lifetime access, and you'll be invited to all my monthly coaching calls even after the course ends. I'm really committed to helping the artists who want to work with me. So if this is something you're feeling called to do, this might be a good time to do it. You can visit my website at theworkingartist.com to learn more. But now, let's talk about you. If you want to ask me a question, it's *6 on your dial pad. Make a comment, a suggestion, even share a success story, because I think we all love hearing artist success stories, right? So that's *6 on your dial pad. And if you have any technical challenges, use the text box to write your technical issues there. My friend Mackenzie is there to help you so that I can focus on the call. Okay? Thank you, Mackenzie. So let's see if we have any raised hands. *6 on the dial pad, and we do. Hi, is this Michael?
Hi, how are we doing today?
Good. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. I'm very interested in the Working Artist Circle. How do I join that?
Go to Facebook and do a search for the Working Artist Circle, and it should show up as a group, and then just request to join. And my challenge question, you've already heard it. What's your greatest challenge as an artist? So fill that in, and then you're in.
All right. Fill it in right now or on the search?
Pardon me? You can do that right now. You can do it anytime.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll think about that then. I got numerous challenges. Can I ask a technical question? It's an odd.
I don't know if I can help with the technical question, but try me.
Yeah, I mean, you or anyone that wants to respond. I've been painting in oils for years, and it's like a mysterious thing. It usually, if I sell a painting, I'll let it dry for about a week, and it's good to go. But the last 2 commissions that I completed, it's been like a month, and I've gotten calls back that they don't dry.
Whoa.
They're still drying, yeah.
Are you painting in layers?
Well, I always do. I don't know, maybe it's different because of the application, but I always do thin layers.
Really? That's interesting. Has it been very humid? More humid than usual?
Yeah, more than usual, yeah.
I guess that would be affecting it. Yeah, I'm not an oil painter myself, but that's what I would think it would be. And if someone else wants to chime in, feel free to hit *6 on your dial pad and give Michael your advice. Do you have any other questions I can answer for you, Michael?
No, I just want to. I want to step things up a bit, but I'll just listen into everything.
Okay, feel free to raise your hand again. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, it's *6 on your dial pad if you want to ask a question. In the meantime, I'm going to read one of the questions that was posted on the website, because we had some really great ones. Let's see. Rick Allen asked, where do fine art prints fit in a successful artist's life? What do we print? How are they printed? How do we price them? And those are really big questions, Rick, and I love these questions. But because I spent many years as a fine art print publisher, I have a different point of view on prints than most people do. So I want you to keep in mind that there are no right answers or wrong answers, because every artist is different, as is every artist market. But I'm going to speak right now about my professional experience. So not every artist needs to make prints. I ran a studio where we focused on original prints. These weren't reproductions. Artists were invited to our studio to create lithographs or etchings or to use other technologies to make original editions, which I then sold. So for the most part, it made sense for us as print publishers to make prints for artists who already had a strong market. And because these were multiples, the prices were lower than their paintings or sculptures. So making prints was really a way to be more democratic and allow people, oh, here comes my cat, and allow people to collect their work who couldn't otherwise afford it. And as far as pricing, there's no hard and fast rule, but I generally started the prices at 10% of what their work would be at the same size. So, for example, if an artist was selling canvases at, say, $10,000, I would price their editions at $1,000, although I would raise that price as the edition sold out. So there are a lot of artists who do make reproductions, and I do not have a problem with that. It's a big investment, though. No matter how you work with prints, it's a big investment. So I urge you to really think through your plan. You don't need to attract an audience at every single price tier when you're starting out. I see a lot of artists doing that, especially when they go like to an art fair. They want to appeal to absolutely everyone. You don't have to do that. What I would do is I would make sure that you have an audience for the prints before you start making them. In other words, are you already selling your originals, but either you run out of stock or you're pricing some people out of your market? And those are two good reasons to consider prints. Personally, I do believe in small editions. The word edition means how many prints are in, how many prints there are. Each one has to be exactly the same, so it's an edition. I would not like having editions of 200. I don't want to have 200 copies of the same piece, because then I have to focus on selling the same thing 200 times. That doesn't really interest me. Also, the price would be a lot lower with such a large edition. So instead, when I was publishing prints, I used to limit my edition size to about 40, maybe 50. And if the market showed interest in that artist's work, I would then make more prints, but with different imagery. Now, what you print and what techniques you use are very individualistic decisions. It really depends on your work. It depends on your budget. It depends on your market. And it also depends on your creative interests. I personally believe in original images like etchings or lithographs, but even though I just said that, I am looking at having my own photographs digitally reproduced. So I'm obviously not precious about it. And in the Working Artist Masterclass, I do go a lot deeper into editions and how I tiered the pricing. So that's a resource if you want to dive deeper into any art pricing questions. But thank you for your questions, Rick. That was great. Okay, I've got some raised hands here. Who have we got? Is that Jeff? Jeff, are you there?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Krista. Yes.
Good to hear from you.
Yep. Good to hear from you. Hope things are going well. Yeah.
They are.
Yep. So I'm a Working Artist Masterclass graduate as of earlier this year, and I loved it, and it really helped a lot.
Oh, thank you. Woohoo. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, it's great. But the thing I wanted to mention is, lack of creativity, because I really didn't consider myself a creative people, but or a creative person. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, I have more.
We know.
Personality. Yeah, but what I did, it was kind of interesting because I work in IT, which is very structured, and focuses everything. But I kind of got fed up with it and decided to take a 2-year sabbatical a few years ago, and that's when I got back into photography. And so for 2 years, I just started experimenting. I really wasn't fulfilled doing like the landscape photography I was doing, and I said, man, there's got to be more. But for 2 years, what I did was I just started. I basically knocked my walls down, the walls of the box down, and said, I'm just going to go any direction. I don't care what people think. I don't care about composition rules. I don't care about much of anything. So I ended up doing night photography, and then from night photography getting into painting with light, which to me is really, really fulfilling.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just simply getting out of the box. And, with my profession and everything, I live in a very tight box. And I think we all live in boxes of some kind, but so I shouldn't say knock the walls down totally. But, my box is now much bigger inside the box of photography. Or I wouldn't even call it photography at this point. I call it art that begins with photography.
Mm.
But just experimenting. And probably 90% of what I did were, what people would say are mistakes. But the point of making mistakes is that they're highly valuable to learn things. And a lot of the mistakes I made, I ended up refining or taking what I learned from a mistake and synergizing it with something else to come up with something that really looked beautiful. So I like the idea of just saying, forget the credentials, it's not, and it's not even, looking at what other people are doing, and I wasn't trying to copy, but I was just trying to get ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just really having, just being very open-minded and just going any direction my creativity took me.
And that's being really generous with yourself, too, giving yourself that time and that space. I think too many times, as soon as an artist puts paint to canvas or lifts up, presses the shutter, they start to get precious too soon. How can I make money from this? What are people going to think about this? Yeah. And being generous with yourself, to give yourself that time to explore and to play and to find your way to your voice and develop your craft, that's so important.
Yeah, and so I think a big thing is just loving myself and showing myself kindness. We all talk about loving other people and wanting to love other people, but I think, loving ourselves is really important too, and that's different from being selfish. But, being able to go through and rather than, because in IT, it's like, boy, you make mistakes, they can be catastrophic. But I realized that's very left brain, and I needed to get the mold and the cobwebs off my right brain, which was a lot. But the thing was to be able to go there and just there's just no fear. I mean, to me, because in IT, I won't say it's fear, but you just have to be extremely careful. But just to throw all that out the window and say, I'm just going to experiment. And I continue to do that, and I love doing that. And, you know, every part of a photo trip that I do most of my work in national parks. But every trip I do, I take one whole night and just say, tonight I'm doing something I've never done before. I can't do anything I've ever done before to get out of the box. And so it really keeps me going. And to me, I feel fresh because even now that I'm, you know, just got my website up and getting ready to sell, I don't want to lose what I learned from that experience, because that's what got me where I am, from creativity. So
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to stop. I don't want to stop.
That's great that you found your process. It reminds me of something the photographer Vic Muniz said. And I mean, Vic Muniz is someone who, you know, I think he's listed as like one of the top 10 photographers in the world. So he looks like a huge success, right? And he's got tons of books out, museum shows. And he said that he stands on the shoulders of his own failures. And he said the public just sees just a sliver of what he does. And he said, each time I succeed, I tell myself, that time I failed to fail.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. Because the more you fail, the more it means you're trying. That's great. Why don't you tell everyone your website so they can check it out? Because I just looked at it and it's great.
It's light painting, LIGHT painting, Jeff, JEFF, Marish, MARESH.com.
Great. Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
You take care.
Thank you.
Danielle, how are you?
Hi, Krista. Happy Saturday.
Thank you.
I'm fine, thank
Good.
you. Thank you for inviting me to the Artist Circle.
It's my pleasure.
I have, hopefully I have some information that may help Michael with his drying time with his oil paintings.
Thank you.
Studying oils, and so I'm really digging in deep into different things. I don't know what mediums he's using, but there's three things that could affect the drying time of oils. Oils is the thickness of the paint, number one. And actually, yes, what you had previously mentioned, humidity. Humidity will slow down the drying time of oil paintings like there's no tomorrow. They take longer to dry in the summer than they do in the winter. And the third thing is the medium he's using to paint with. There's different mediums that you can get that dry faster, like a Galcide light. Just needs to do a little bit more research. Like I said, I don't know what he's using, so I can't really address any of that sort of thing. But I can give you those types of highlights. Those are three major things that will affect the drying of oil paintings.
That's interesting. Thank you. That's very generous of you.
Absolutely. And as you know, I'm a Working Artist Masterclass alumni, and I actually lost my day job 4 years ago, as you know, and I gifted myself with this class. And out of all the things that I've gone through in over 4 years, this is the one thing that has proven to me that has a million times been the best decision I ever made over the past 4 years. I've had, this has kept me together. It's kept me creating. And you're absolutely right. The money, forget about it. Just forget about it. I mean, as far as like saying you don't have money, I don't have money for art supplies right now, so I find that I'm digging into things that I haven't touched into years, and I'm like, I have supplies. I'm doing things with what I still have and what I'm using, and I'm loving it. I've never been more productive, and I stopped worrying.
Great.
I don't know. And it's exactly what you say. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. None of us knows what we're going to happen in the future. But you know what? I'm going to have some beautiful art and all kinds of illustrations by the time this all ends. Everything is.
Yeah.
And when one day runs into the next, I can separate it because I did these pieces in August and I did these pieces in September. Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear it in my voice? I'm a changed person.
That's fantastic. Oh, I'm really proud of you and really grateful. I'm really grateful. It's been wonderful to work with you over these past, I guess it's been 3 years we've been working together. Really proud of you.
Thank you. And what I have to say is, if people are interested in actually taking the course, it will give you the foundation for what you want to do next. And you don't even have to know what you want to do next, because I certainly don't. But it gave me the foundation to launch me into being in the real world of the artists and the art, and wherever that takes me. It might not take me anywhere. I might, it doesn't matter. I'm enjoying everything, and I'm learning. This is honest. This is my true self, and I thank you.
Oh, thank you, Danielle. Thanks so much.
So you take care, Chris. It's always good to talk to you.
You too. Lots of love. Hi, who's this?
Hi, this is Mary Beth.
Hi, Mary Beth. How are you?
Good. I've been conversing with you a little bit in the group on the Working Artist on Facebook.
Yes.
And appreciate your feedback. And I'm thinking about taking the master class. I've looked at it and a couple of others, but I'm really interested in yours for a number of reasons. But my question is, I've been struggling. I've been showing my work seriously for the past 3 years since I retired from teaching middle school art, and I think I explained that on Facebook a little bit. I also do street painting for enjoyment and as a performance art and a way to share my creativity with the community, which is very rewarding for me. I do get some money from that. I get paid to travel and hotel and so forth. But really I want to sell more of my own paintings. My focus for painting is watercolor, and I'm not selling very much. And I've, like I said, seriously been showing for the last couple of years, 3 years in Laguna Beach, California. And I have a lot of people interested in my work, but they're not buying it. So I'm wondering, is it a barrier because of the media? I have to show watercolor under glass. I find that maybe it's less attractive to people because the glass is a barrier. Maybe there's a preference to oils and acrylics now. People are leaning towards buying abstract work. Then I toy around with, is there a decision I should make about color to appeal to the designers? It's having these questions about, should I switch, like I said, from a more realistic image to abstract? Anyway, those are just questions that I have, throwing it out there. I know that I need to paint from my heart and from my soul, and that's what I do for the most part, but I just find that people aren't buying it.
So rather than keep changing your painting, trying to shoot fish in a barrel, it sounds like you would be doing, trying this image, trying that color palette, trying this presentation, trying that, why don't you change your approach in sales and marketing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think if you are able to start interacting with people more directly, asking them for the sale, and if they express admiration of your work, engage with them. What is it that they like about the work? Then you're going to get some background information about the kind of language you should be using about your work, about what is attracting people about the work. When you ask for the sale, if they say no, maybe you'll learn more about what it is that is keeping people from buying the work, and it'll be a lot more informed rather than guessing. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think the problem is the medium, and I don't think the problem is the subject matter. I think the problem is probably that gulf between you and the buyer that you're maybe a little bit nervous to cross because you don't know the right language, you don't want to appear pushy, and you want them to come to you a little more. Am I right?
Yeah, I think what I find, because I am an art educator, when I'm talking to people about my work, I talk to them more as an art educator and talk to them about my process and technique, and maybe that's just not what they want to hear. And I end up, talking more to other artists who aren't really necessarily going to buy my work. They just want to know how I do it.
Yep. Yeah. So when people compliment your work, go deeper from them. Try to get, ask questions. Pay attention to what they're connecting with, and then start to talk about those things more when people look at your work. Okay?
So right now it's hard to get anybody to look at it, actually.
Yeah.
Because everything is closed. But I am doing a lot online still. We have an online gallery, and things are picking up a little bit. So
that's wonderful. That's great. Good. Yeah, and that's a great place to practice too, and to start collecting words.
Also mentioned to you that I feel like it's in a co-op gallery situation where there's 12 other artists, in this particular gallery. I feel like I get a little lost, and my ultimate goal is to have a place with my name on the door and where I can paint and show and teach and have it be more my own thing and not lost in the shuffle with everyone else.
That's going to be so cool. I'm excited for you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Take care.
Okay, you too.
Hi, is this Maddie?
Hello, yes it is.
Hi, Maddie.
Hi, it's so good to talk to you. I was struggling recently. I was struggling with just this feeling of like overwhelm at wanting to do kind of everything and having like so many different facets of an art practice and trying to start up an art business that I've just been feeling like a little, I guess, bogged down, or not necessarily unproductive, but just like unfulfilled by everything I'm doing. And I was just wondering, like, if you have wisdom or insight on how to, I guess, choose, and if that is necessary. Like, I really don't want to choose, but if that is probably the next best step, is to kind of choose a focus, what your advice would be on that.
So what are you having trouble choosing? Like what to do every day for moving this forward, or exactly what your art business will look like?
I think it's more focusing on what to do each day. Do
you make lists, Maddie? Are you a list maker?
Yeah, I am, and I don't make priority lists. I just make long lists. So.
Yeah. I'm a list maker too, and I've struggled with this. The long lists, I realize, start to suck the life out of me, because at the end of the day, I don't feel like I accomplished anything. So I've got a few tricks. One is I shortened the list. I just put the letter A by the most important things and made a list of just those things. And then if I had time, I'll go back and pick maybe a few fun things from the bigger list. And the other thing I did that really changed my energy is at the end of the day, before I make tomorrow's list, I would look at my list and say out loud everything I've accomplished. And I was always amazed by how much I did do. But with our long list, all we see is the things we didn't do. It's just like an accusation. And it's like I was talking about with success. We keep making more goals, and then we never get there. And then we never feel like we're succeeding. Where if you could take a moment, just a minute at the end of every day, to look at everything you've really done and, well done, give yourself a pat on the back. That was a successful day. I think that will help change your relationship with your energy around that.
That's a really good tip. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So do you make the list like at the beginning of the day, or do you make it for the next day, like in the evening time?
I make it in the evening because I love making lists so much. It's like my favorite thing to do. So at the end of the day, it's like, an opportunity to make a new list. So sometimes I even make look what I did list, done list. And that's very, like I said, that feels really good. But yeah, I I know what I'm going to do the next day. I know if I need to get up early. I know where I need to prioritize. I also know for myself, the stuff that I hate to do or the stuff that really uses my brain power, I have to do that in the morning. And if I put it off for the afternoon, it doesn't get done, or it gets done like really half-ass. So that's how I started to prioritize my list, is before I can start thinking too much or get distracted by something else or change my mind, I try to do those icky things first.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And where I was talking earlier about a timer, if there's a really icky thing, like my computer recently has way too much on it, and it kept crashing because it needed to be cleaned, which is not something I want to do. But I set a timer every day, 15 minutes, just 15 minutes going through all of my files and deleting stuff and cleaning stuff. So that way, you know, in little baby steps, rather than me giving half a day to something I really don't want to do, I can do it for 15 minutes every day.
Right. Right. Oh, I'm glad you gave that example, because the same exact thing is happening to me, and I've been trying to just get it over with, and I think that's probably been part of it. So, I guess my last question, kind of related to this, is how to, go about like being a list maker and approaching it in this different kind of way, but also being a little resistant to like giving up all like spontaneity or freedom, because I don't really like plans, and I like the notion of being very free-flowing and like, what do I feel like doing? But yeah, I'm trying to figure out, how do you balance like having things to do but also doing what you feel like doing in a moment, you know?
Well, for me, again, that's where it comes into doing those things you have to do first thing. And then that opens up the rest of the day where you can work, where I have a rule that relationships take priority over everything. So even if I'm busy with something and a friend calls and needs me, that's where I'm going to put my energy. And, you know, unless I'm working on some really bizarre deadline, but, you know, there's no real art emergencies in the world. No one's going to die if I don't do this one thing. But if I get up and I get those things out of the way, then that gives me the freedom, really, to go for my walks, to spend time with friends, to make something different than I had planned to make, and be more spontaneous. So I consider it, I don't like the word routine. I changed the word to practice. It's part of my professional practice to spend 2 or 3 hours first thing in the morning just sitting down and getting some stuff out of the way that I have to do. And that really gives me a lot of freedom. By having a practice, you actually, by having that kind of structure, you have more freedom.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I love the way that you reword it from routine to practice.
Practice is a good word.
It makes all the difference in my mind.
Yeah. So your
creative
creative practice is one thing, but don't forget you have a professional practice too to support the creative practice.
Right. You gotta balance each other out and support each other.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Thanks for those questions.
Thank you so much. Your answers really helped me. So thank
you. Good. Take care. David Foster, how are you?
Good morning from Hawaii. How are you?
Very well. Hello, Hawaii.
You're in France, I assume?
I am in France, yep.
Yay.
Hunkered
Yay
down.
for you.
Yeah.
So I had 2 things, and based on earlier callers' comments, I now have 4 quick ones. First of all, I am also a working artist course alum, and so I will add my appreciation and kudos for those who've suggested that they're considering it. I would encourage you to jump in, both feet.
Thank you, David.
Go for it. The second, for the woman who was having some frustration with people expressing interest in sort of not following through, I would just share something that I've done. I discovered through another artist a business card company called moo.com, M-O-O like a cow. And they have what to me, as far as I know, is an extremely unusual offer, which is that you buy business cards in blocks of, or in sets of 50, but you can actually upload 50 different images and have them print one of each on each different card. Or you can upload 10 images and get 5 of each, or whatever combination you want. And they've become, and I've been using them for probably 7 or 8 years now. It's like I've got a portfolio in my pocket. And so when people, if they're people who, and I also have, just the usual run-of-the-mill ones that cost, 2 cents a piece instead of whatever these are, 25 or something. But if somebody's really seriously interested, I invite them to walk away with a card that has a picture of for me, a photograph that's as similar to what they're interested in, if not the same one, as I can. And so they're walking away with a reminder of what they were interested in and all the information about how to contact me on the other side. And I've, it has paid for itself in terms of, having people follow up after the fact, because people often aren't ready to make a decision on the spot. And then, they go away and they get distracted and they sort of forget why they were interested. So anyway, so that's a resource for people who are interested in sort of that particular kind of marketing or follow-up. So let
me just interrupt real quick to say that I second that, because I just received my shipment of Moo cards today. So I've been using Moo cards for years as well, and I really, really love them as a company. They're great. So I second that.
Yeah. And it is so fun because people, you sort of go, oh, well, let me share. And I said, now you have to do the work, because you have to decide which one of these you want to take with you, and which means, again, it sort of draws their attention. And okay, do I want this? Do I like this one or this one or this one? And they just connect a little bit more with what you're doing, and it doesn't produce, a whole line of people's form to buy my work, but it definitely has paid for whatever they've cost me to have people who follow up. So yeah. So the other thing, speaking of sales, I'm happy to report that as a consequence of my blog that I've been doing this year, I've actually sold 4 prints to people who saw stuff on the blog that they couldn't stand not to have on their wall. So that was kind
of fun. Wonderful.
Even though that was not my driving, that was not what was driving my decision to do the blog. It has been a pleasant secondary gain. So that was fun.
Well, I totally get that, because I looked at your last blog post with the waterfall image, and that image just took your work is always so beautiful, but that last image just really took my breath away, and I find myself going back to it again and again.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. It was... Thanks. So my last thing is, so I was in Atlanta for many years, and each year I was part of this fall photo festival called Atlanta Celebrates Photography, and I always had images on a wall somewhere or multiple places that were part of the festival. And so I moved from Atlanta, and all of that sort of fell away because I didn't have any walls available to put stuff up on. So anyway, so now with COVID, one of the small benefits is that they've now basically done predominantly virtual festival this year, and so they've latched on to a platform. It's sort of an exhibition or storytelling platform to help people put together sort of online exhibits that can be linked into this whole festival structure. And so I saw that, and I was like, ooh, I can be 5,000 miles away and still be part of the festival. Mm-hmm. And so I've done that, and that's now alive and going. And if there are photographers out there who are interested in, sort of how to, see some really cool photography. And the photographers are like all over. I mean, every kind of subject matter, and from very traditional to very experimental and stuff. It's ACP, as in Atlanta Celebrates Photography, info.org. And if you go to the website, you can just find information about the festival, and then there's a festival guide which lists all the different things that are going on, and you can search by artist or just scroll through and just explore. And there's lots of really, really fun it's a photographic sort of buffet that's pretty cool.
Wonderful.
But the thing apart from that I wanted to share is that this platform, it's called, the company is, or the URL is exposure.co, not com, but just co. Mm-hmm. And it's a subscription thing. I think it's $14 a month or something. So it's not inexpensive, but it's certainly not cost prohibitive. And its real origins were in photojournalism, for people to tell stories where there's some, they can be as much or more text than there are images or whatever. Or in the case of wanting to put a photo piece together, you can put as many photographs in as you want, and you can then, or pictures of paint. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, you have to have has to be done digitally, but it doesn't have to be photography art. It can be any kind of art that's photographed. Mm-hmm. And then you can put a little lead-in text. You can put captions. You can you can add language to it in whatever degree or form. Well, not form. Anyway, I mean, it takes a little getting used to sort of how to actually make it work. But it's really and people and you just can scroll through and see the story. And it occurred to me that particularly in this sort of COVID time, when we're more dependent on sort of the internet for communicating, but also if people are having time, that they would have been out at festivals or whatever, to figure out, do I have a story about my art? Is there a story about how it is created, or what the muses are, or I don't even know. I mean, I can't even begin to completely imagine all the various possible ways there are that artists might want to create a storyboard, a sort of do photojournalism on their own art.
Yeah, I love this.
And you create these, and then you can have, I've seen, I saw a few people's websites where they've got 10 or 15 or 20 stories and on their site within exposure.co. And basically, if you've got, you can link it to your website. If you've got, there's different. I haven't really. It's new to me. I've just done this one thing with it through ACP, but it just seemed to me like a number of the folks that I've heard call into these artist calls, who are more storytellers in their art, perhaps, mm-hmm. or who have interesting stories to tell. Like you, for example. It might be a resource to sort of add to the ways in which, we get ourselves visible and get people engaged. I mean, I think that, what is it that draws people in and then keeps them interested? And sometimes it's the art itself, and sometimes it takes, a story to sort of deepen the connection, I think. And
right.
Anyway, it just seemed like a resource that might be of interest to folks.
Exposure.co, I love it. I wrote it down for myself too. Thank you.
No, not so carefully, not com.
Right, co.
It's just .co.
Right.
A new extension to me, but so anyway, so just wanted to put that out into the artverse universe.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for keeping doing this. Yay, thanks.
Sure. Take care, David.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
It looks like we've got Michael up. Is this Michael?
Hey, Krista. Michael number 2.
Nice to talk to you, Michael.
Good to talk with you as well. Well, I guess since I am an alumnus as well, I definitely will add my kudos to you and to the program and the value of the program, and especially now that you've generously added a discount. Anybody who's been concerned about the cost outlay, I think what's been so valuable has been it's not just a one-time thing. The ongoing connection to the community of folks who've been through the program is an immeasurable bonus. So I heartily suggest anybody who's on the fence taking that leap. So
thank you so much. You guys are great. Thank you.
So I have a real specific question or a couple questions for you. And
okay.
So the state of New Mexico is looking for work that they can put permanently up in various state locations like universities, etc. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for proposals that cost out everything, including crating and shipping and insurance. And I'm working on that with some local companies around here because I want to put in a proposal to them. But one of the things that I'm not sure about is since I don't know what location, if I were fortunate enough to be considered and get chosen, I don't know what location would be. And one of the costs that they're looking for an estimate, because they want all the cost up front, is installation. And with your past experience, since I've never done this, if I needed to reach out either with a gallery or folks that do this, is there a ballpark estimate? Is this something that I could, email you and get some feedback from you, or is this something you could help me with right now?
I wouldn't know about installation. I mean, are we talking about?
Well, for me,
does it need like electricity? Because your work is so different. What kind of pieces are you thinking about?
No, it's a large triptych that I created, and so this would be pretty, pretty standard installation. But since I've never had to do this with this level of professionalism at a location, everything that I've done has just been handed off to a gallery, and they do the installation of the pieces. And that here in Phoenix at the co-op that I'm at, we did this cooperative installing my work and stuff. But so I have no idea if like a site in Taos wanted to have the triptych, how would, me flying to Taos, I'm not sure if I would feel comfortable because I've never done this before.
Right. Could you drive there?
If I had to reach out to somebody locally in that city, what the heck's the cost? Is this a few $1,000s to pay to somebody to do this, or a few $100s? I haven't a clue, so I just thought I would ask you, or if you know. Okay.
Okay. I'm getting the picture now. So I would think that you would drive there with the work yourself. So maybe it's the price of renting the van, eating, staying in hotels, and getting back home again.
Okay.
And I don't know whether you would charge for your time to do that as well.
Okay.
What I might do if I were you is reach out in Phoenix to maybe some of the public art coordinators there, or to some of the artists, because we have so much public art in Phoenix and Scottsdale, Tucson. Reach out to some of the artists and ask them if they would charge for their time as well. See if they, because I don't know, by the time you hire an art shipper to get it there, and then you're going to hire someone else who doesn't really know your work to install it, I think it might be better for you to just say that you would do it yourself.
Okay.
Would you be comfortable doing that?
I feel intimidated. Well, I guess my level of ignorance of not knowing, like in a museum setting, for instance, are there some things done differently? Is there a certain level of expertise or expectation in doing this versus what I've done just in sort of local gallery setting?
I don't think so. I don't think we're looking at anything different. You want to make sure that the lighting is good and all of that, but that's kind of up to the person who's in charge of that space. And you might want to also bring, I wasn't thinking of this, but when you go, because your pieces are so big, you might want to bring someone with you too. And include that. I think because you do belong to a cooperative, I think this might be a good time to reach out to some of the people who do public art. And also, I don't know if you had a chance to look, but I had created an extra bonus, a public art guide, the Working Artist Guide to Public Art, and I think you can find it in the Working Artist at the very end at the extra bonuses section. Okay. And that should, you probably have a lot of that already covered, but you might find that helpful as well.
Okay. All right. And then they need, after the installation is done, the site will need an ongoing maintenance document. So, so that was also something that I wasn't, certain about what the site might need to maintain the integrity of the work. So.
Yeah. Well, it's really work specific, isn't it? Some people do have work that plugs into the wall, or a light bulb breaks and it needs to be changed, and how many curators does it take to change a light bulb? But congratulations, and this sounds like a really great project. So good luck with that.
Well, thanks. All righty.
And did I answer all your questions, or did I point you in the right direction? Okay.
That's it. Thanks, Krista.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty.
Okay, I don't see any more raised hands, so I'm going to read more of the questions that were posted online, and it's *6 on your dial pad if you want to ask me a question. Sherry wrote that she's marketing online now, and she needs tips about fillers. And I wasn't really sure what tips about fillers meant, but I'm guessing that you're struggling with what to post in order to build your audience and promote your work so that people will buy, right? So, okay. I have always promoted the working artist through social media. I write short stories and essays about being an artist, and I use my photographs to accompany my words. And this has brought me all kinds of inbound sales traffic and opportunities for both my written work and my photographs. But what I see artists doing too many times is just posting their images with a title and a price. They're not engaging with their audience. They're not teaching their audience how to see their work. They're not building relationships. So I think if I had started out by only posting the syllabus of the Working Artist Masterclass, for example, I don't think interest would have built. Instead, I freely shared stories about my journey in the art world and the stories of other artists' journeys. I wrote about the lessons that we learned. I shared resources, tips, inspiration. So this is how you can build an audience for your work too. What I want you to do, Sherry, is think about what your work is about, whether that's subject matter, influence, style, technique. What's the golden thread that's tying your work together? And then post about that. By teaching and showing and sharing posts that engage your audience, by posting about your passions, you will build a relationship of trust with your audience. And then when you do share your work, they will already be educated about how to look at it. And people will be more drawn to your posts and to your work. I've seen a lot of artists take this advice and change the way that they engage on social media, and it's really made a difference in their sales. And it's also a lot more fun. So thank you for that question, Sherry. I'll go to the next question. If we don't have any raised hands, it's *6 if you do. Okay, next question. Linda wrote that she's moving in a new direction now by creating recycled wooden assemblage. Did I say that right? Assemblage. Assemblage. Can't believe I live in France and I can't say that word. Assemblage. Well, you know what I mean. With repurposed material. She's creating recycled wooden assemblage with repurposed material. And in the past, she painted on canvas, but now she's wondering, how does she find a market for these new pieces? I think that you should start with a market that you already have, Linda. Build on it. So if you start with the folks who know you in person, for example, you might have an open studio to celebrate the debut of this new body of work and make a party out of it. After COVID, of course. But this can be a really fun way to get people curious and excited to see what you've been doing during your creative isolation. And the same with social media. In your posts, talk about what inspired you to change the way you work. Show behind-the-scenes pictures. Show work in progress. Make people feel like they're on this creative journey with you. And also, don't be afraid to talk about other artists who have worked with assemblage. Why can't I say assemblage? Who work in your medium. Share your influences. This is how you educate your audience how to look at your work, and it's a great way to build your community too. So have fun with that, Linda. Thank you for your question. Okay, *6 on your dial pad. I'm going on to Clyde's question, because Clyde had two questions. The first, oh wait, I see a raised hand. Clyde, you're going to have to wait a second. We're going to, who's this? Hi, who's this? Maurice?
Yeah, hi.
How are you?
I am a little bit exhausted. I just got back from France.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was close by. I just went in to settle my daughter in to study in Paris.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, I'm a little emotionally exhausted too, because it was hard to leave her there.
Yeah.
Especially right now where the virus is kind of taking its hold again. So anyways, that's where I'm at. So I'm actually quarantining now because I'm back in Canada. So I'm stuck in my basement for 14 days.
Wow. Quarantining, our new verb, quarantining.
Yes.
Quarantining.
Yes, at least I'm doing it in my studio, so I really should not.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. I hope it's really productive for you.
I hope so. I actually have a question about, so when you started these calls at the beginning of COVID, I joined for the first one there, and you asked the question, where do we fit in as artists in this time? And I did a community art project beginning of June. So I actually, while distancing, so I got people to make appointments online every half an hour, and I got them to take a cup or two of their house paint, so basically the walls they'd been staring at for months, and to come throw it on a board that I had primed, and I had written words on them that they gave me, like when they made their appointment. I asked them how they were feeling. So I had written a bunch of those words, and I told them, come and throw paint, throw your frustrations out, and just kind of, some of them did it very silently and did not say a word and left. Others screamed they wanted to go back to school or were tired of being home with their kids and husbands.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an exercise. I didn't know how it was going to work out. It actually was fantastic, and I've had other artists here repeat the experience.
That's incredible. Really great. Strong project.
It was lovely. Actually, I had really lots of positive feedback. Now I have a 4-foot by 8-foot board in my living room. I don't know what to do with. So I let it dry, and I added some walls to it, like on top of it, that are kind of transparent. You really have to look to see them, so that basically you would it looks like a floor plan of a house, but they're transparent enough that it speaks to the wall paint and being stuck in our homes, but at the same time they're transparent enough that they're not holding us in. So I put it up on Facebook and such, and I'm trying to find a place to show it, but haven't had much luck for that yet. But the other thing I did was I took close-ups, so pictures of it close-up, that you can kind of see the layers of the paint, and it's kind of interesting because you can see how many people participated and where it started and where it finished. And I, as it developed, I took pictures as the words disappeared and such. Now, I was thinking it'd be interesting to get prints made of those pictures. I just don't know how to go about selling it, I guess.
I wonder, because this was a community project, basically, if you could interest a community nonprofit space or a local museum to partner with you on this. This sounds to me like it's something you could show, but you might even be able to hold some kind of workshops, make prints, for example, maybe even do, I don't know if there's a print studio in your community, but maybe work with them. There could be like a print workshop, like after COVID, of course, print workshops so people could play with this. I think you could really think outside the box with this project.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Does that feel like it's taking you away from where you wanted to go with it?
I was wondering, how, for the images, the pictures that I took, is to get prints made by some, not on a printing press, but
like photographs.
Yeah, like the photographs printed professionally. I don't even know. I've never done that, so I have no idea. I wouldn't know where to go for that.
Are they well shot? Really high resolution?
I think I'm pretty sure I took them. I'm not sure if I took them in RAW and JPEG as well. I know that in your master class you said to take them in both.
Yeah.
So some of them are I might have to retake some of them. I have some really good ones.
Good.
But yeah, I'm not sure how to go about that.
Well, find a printer in your area. Maybe reach out to your artist community, see if there's any printers in your area that they work with. You could work with someone online as well. Get a few tests made. You'll need to tell them how high the resolution is, so they'll be able to tell you what sizes you can, are available to you. Because, the better the resolution, the bigger print that you can do.
Right.
And have some tests done and take a look, make sure the color that you're happy with the colors, and, there's so many different choices. Matte, glossy, size, looking at the different colors. Yeah. Okay. Does that help?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I should, I have a good camera. Well, a good camera. It's a starter one, but it's I think it's a Canon. But I know a photographer. I'm wondering if I'd be better off just getting her to come over and work on this together.
Well, start with yours and see how far you get, and I think that will tell you what, it's going to be a step-by-step process. It's going to be a lot of decisions, and some of the decisions are going to have to be going backwards and maybe photograph again or get someone else involved. But I think this project is so interesting. I would be really open to the dance of that, and just let the project kind of take you. Keep moving forward with it, but see where it takes you.
All right. Thanks. I have another question more about the, I guess, copyright part of it.
Okay.
When I started this, I just wanted to do a community art project. I didn't care about, I cared about the outcome, but I didn't really think further than that. And then we repeated the experience with a community center and the Arts and Health Canada Ottawa chapter. And so we have another board there. And then, like I said, there's artists near here that, contacted me and asked if they could repeat the experience in their community. And I said, sure, and then an artist friend of mine was just like, oh, just make sure, they know it's your idea, and I wouldn't, I would get them to pay you so that they can use the idea. And I'm like, yeah, but that just kind of takes away from the community idea.
Yeah.
I feel, so all I ask them is that when they, if, because I think it was a local paper that went to one of the projects, I said, I'll just mention my name, just say that you got the idea from me, and that's fine. To me, that was enough. But I even felt bad doing that. But then, I don't know, I felt kind of weird about it, I guess. I wanted the project. I want other people to be able to do it. But then my friend, when she said that, kind of made me feel like, should I be doing it differently? Do I want it to be traced back to me every time? So anyways, what are your thoughts on that?
I guess it would be, do you want the responsibility of continuing to lead this project in other places? Because
No.
that would really be the reason. Okay, then.
It's too much work. It's a lot of work to get one of these together. I was just thinking maybe I should should I open up a website, and then because again, that's work.
Right.
But people could, it would be nice to have all of these projects in one place and all the images and stuff. But at the same time, then I'd have to work at keeping it all in one place.
Yeah, so it would have huge rewards, but it would also bring you in a certain direction that you'd really have to take responsibility for. So if I were you, I would actually spend some real time meditating on that.
Okay. Because
there's pros and cons, for sure, that are both worth considering.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Take care. And bravo.
Thanks.
Hello, it says Deborah. Is this Deborah?
This is her.
Hi, Deborah.
How are you?
I'm very well. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. I have a couple of questions. One of them is sort of I guess, an opinion based on one of the other callers' questions. And it was to do with she was talking about doing art that she thought would sell. And there's always a conundrum as to whether you do art that is totally you or whether you do what you think somebody else wants you to do. And there's always that really defining point. And I think I know with me, I feel like I need to follow my passion more than I need to follow the dollar sign. But I was just wondering what your opinion is on that sort of theory.
I feel the same. I mean, even when I started The Working Artist, I can't tell you how many people said, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way, you have to do this. And I thought, this isn't the reason I'm doing, that's not the energy I want to put behind it. And I think with being artists, we're already making so many sacrifices by being artists, and being an artist is about authenticity. What's the point? What's the point of chasing dollars? And also, that's a real crapshoot, because no one knows what the market is or what people are going to buy the most. I mean, who knows what is in your heart could actually be selling better than what's selling down the street. You could be creating tomorrow's next trend. So I'm all about following your heart and supporting that. I mean, that doesn't mean that you have to willfully disregard if you're asked to do something, or if there's a real opportunity that you willfully disregard it. But I think following your heart is what being an artist is about.
Yeah, I mean, I have some personal experience with that. I had a studio in Annapolis, Maryland for 5 years. And when I went in there, I didn't do, it's a very nautical town. The Naval Academy is there, so it's boats and water, and we're right on the Chesapeake Bay. And so, when I first went into my studio space, I wasn't selling a lot of what I normally do, which is more still life, trompe l'oeil, landscape, that kind of thing. But when I started painting, beach scenes and water scenes with sailboats in them, I started selling more art, because that's what the people who lived around there were after. And I got so I liked it okay, but it really wasn't where my heart was. And what I would really like to do is I would like to focus on, I know trying to get into a gallery or whatever, you have to have a body of art. And one thing that I really like to paint is multiples of things. I love painting a whole scene of, crabs or buttons or, whatever, that sort of thing. I like painting that kind of thing. So I'm finally to the point where I have left that studio space, so I'm not obligated to pay rent there, so I don't feel like I'm obligated to do those nautical paintings anymore. So, what I was wondering is how do you best go about, creating that body of work, and then how do you go about presenting it to, say, a local gallery or whatever?
Let me see if I understand your question correctly. So you're creating a new body of work that is different from what you've done before. Is this what you're asking? Okay. And how do you go? Well, that's a huge question. That's the Working Artist Masterclass right there. It's I think so. It's about building an audience. It's about developing relationships with the galleries. It's putting together your materials, your promotional materials, so that when you approach the gallery, that you have all your ducks in a row and you're presenting yourself professionally. Having an artist statement about the work, so you've thought through the ideas behind the work and why you're doing what you're doing, and building an audience before you even show it to a gallery, so that you can show the gallery that you do have an audience, and that if there is an opening, you can fill the space. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, it's a big question, but keep making the work. Keep making the work. Start building your social media following and engaging people there. Capture your ideas as you're working. Keep a notebook by you all the time and write down words, phrases, songs, anything at all that will give you language to talk about the work later when you write your statement or if you're doing some sort of presentation. And all of that will help you put it all together easier. It's one step at a time.
And then the other thing that someone else was talking too about watercolor versus oil or works on canvas. And in my experience, I'm passionate about watercolor. I love doing watercolor. And to me, watercolor is not valued as much as works on canvas, just from personal experience and from what I've seen in galleries and that sort of thing. So, I just don't know if I create this body of work of watercolors, is it going to have value?
Well, value is a funny word. I believe there's a market for watercolor. The prices aren't as high as they are for works on canvas. Right. And in that sense, I think the value is different. Just like prints and photographs are often priced at a less value than sculpture, for example. But I don't like the word value is kind of funny because, we're just talking about money. We're not talking about the value of the work and how good the work is. It's just what the market will bear.
I meant value in, like to a gallery or whatever. That was kind of what I was thinking, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I imagine there are some galleries who will represent watercolor artists, but, usually when I go into a gallery, at least around this area, they're, almost always works on canvas.
Yeah, because they can get more money for them.
Yeah.
But, there is a market for watercolors, and not everyone can pay those same prices for canvases. So there is a market for original works on paper. It does exist. And it's a huge market. Like I said, not everyone can afford a work on canvas or a sculpture. So, yeah, do what you want to do, and the audience will come.
Okay. Well, thank you for your insight. I appreciate it. And
sure. Good luck with this new body of work. I'm excited for you.
Hey, well, be safe over there in France.
Okay. You take care. Have a good quarantine.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, it wasn't you who was quarantining. Sorry. Okay. I've got 2 questions from Clyde here. The first is about online marketing tips. Okay, so Clyde is looking for online marketing tips. And who was it? It was Sherry. I talked about online marketing tips earlier in this call. So I think if you listen to my answer to Sherry, that will help guide you to Clyde, okay? But also, Clyde, I know that you're an alumni. You joined the Working Artist Masterclass a long time ago. So I want you to go back into the program because I created some new bonuses since then. Specifically, I want you to watch the videos about online marketing and the other one about social media because I go a lot deeper there than I can within this call. So this is available to you there, Clyde. Take advantage of it, and your Working Artist membership doesn't end, so you can go in there anytime you want. Now, Clyde's second question is more complex. He's asking me which is the best online site in terms of prices. Like, what's the best online gallery in terms of prices? And as far as I know, Clyde, you always set your prices when you sell online. The online gallery, this cat is driving me mad. Sorry, I'm getting all confused. The online gallery adds their commission to your prices, and they're all different. But once you know how much they'll take from you, you can set the price. And there are literally thousands of online galleries out there now. And I know this because they email me every day and ask me to promote them to you guys. But I don't, because I don't believe that there's just one online gallery that's the best fit for everybody. It's what's best for you. And I know that some sites where artists, there are some sites where artists sell a small fortune of work. They're selling like crazy. But I know other artists who sell on the same site and they don't sell anything. And there are just so many factors involved, including is the audience a right match? Does your art fit in with the other art that's being shown there? But mostly I think it comes down to you and how you promote your work on that site. So choosing an online gallery is really a personal decision for your own art practice. There's no one-size-fits-all. And I know that you really want me to give you one name of one company, but I am not comfortable taking responsibility for that decision. However, I am going to suggest that you join the Working Artist Circle Facebook group and you post a question asking the members there which online art galleries they use. And I know that you'll be able to collect several sites from that, and you can do your research from there. But the research is the most important factor because, like I said, this is a very individual decision. And just because one artist sells on Saatchi doesn't mean that every artist is going to have the same results. And I'm going to give you an example. A few months ago, I was working with Fine Art America, which is the biggest online gallery in the world. And I really liked them, and I really liked what they were offering. But when I mentioned them in a coaching call, one of the Working Artist alumni, I believe it was even Jeff, who we talked to earlier, wrote to me with a list of everything he discovered about this company and their work when he did his research. And it was super obvious then that this company would be a bad fit for some artists, but a great fit for other artists. So it's all about the research. And I'm not trying to duck your question, but I am encouraging you to go deeper to finding the answers. Okay, thanks for those questions, Clyde. Okay, I think my cat has finally calmed down. I'm sorry about that. Any other raised hands? *6 on your dial pad. Otherwise, I'm going to go to, I think this is the last online question. Let's see, Reza asked, whether an artist needs to find one style and stick with that. Great question. But again, it depends. Developing your own style, it can be a blessing and a curse. I know artists who are extremely successful, but they feel trapped because they can't work outside of the confines they've created in terms of their style or subject matter. And other artists feel challenged because they can't settle on one style and their audience just is never able to connect with the work. So the thing is about being an artist is we are curious people. It's part of our job description. We're just curious about things. And that's why it's so difficult for us to focus on one medium, one idea, one style, or even one brand. And I hear artists cry out all the time, I don't want to choose one. I want to play. I want to explore. I want to experiment. I don't want to choose one. And then I say, I suggest you choose one. And you choose one thing to focus on in your work at a time. It can be one medium. It can be one style. It can be one idea, one technique, and experiment all you want. But I think it's really important to emphasize one area. So, for example, if you want to work on honing your voice, then zero in on one idea and carry it through everything you do. If you want to focus on developing your craft, then concentrate on one style or one technique. And if you want to chase the muse wildly, then by all means allow yourself that space and to dance. But in that space where you're ready to grow and really try to connect with people, then it's best to choose one. Okay? Thank you for that question. It's a good one. Any more raised hands? *6 on your dial pad. Okay, I want to thank you so much for joining the Working Artist Circle call today. I'm really grateful to be part of such a powerful community of artists, and I really appreciate each one of you. And before we hang up, I want to remind you of the special promotion that I'm offering for the next 7 days only. Like I said, I've slashed the price of the masterclass from $444 to $177, and that's just $59 a month if you use the payment plan. Go to theworkingartist.com if you're interested in working with me. And thank you. I'm sending you love and light and positive wishes for your health and creativity. Take care.